control, like these two. It's an open issue which one is the best, but I tend to believe that it should not be too much structure. Collaboration is still something spontaneous. If we make it too structured, it's a bit difficult. So for the same ideas, there are different approaches, more or less interventionist or more or less free. But there is one common idea in this one. It's not free collaboration. It will not work if you just say to your kids, to your students, please argue. You have 20 teams of 3 students, 3 teams will argue well, and 17 will not. Okay? As a teacher and as a researcher, we have to design collaboration. We have to organize it in such a way that they will argue, they will explain, they will regulate. We cannot trust that by chance all these teams will collaborate well. We have to design it and to design it in a subtle way, not too strong way, but that's a difficulty. It has to be a subtle design.
What means identify interactive furniture?
Yeah, first of all, there is a typo. It's interactive furniture, and that's the second part of my talk. We shape collaboration by designing tables and lamps. I will show you that. It's on this side of the continent, so less coercive. Now let me give you a second example of script. That's another one where I don't try to trigger argumentation, but explanation. Okay, I use it in my course as well. First I make teams of 3 students, so the students go online and we make teams. And then in each team there are 3 roles, like these were authors of my domain, but you could say one role is Piaget, one is Vygotsky, and one is Papert. And so the students choose a role in each team. And then how do you become Piaget or Croissant? By reading individually 3 papers of this author. And that's not funny. My students are probably like your students. If you ask them to read 3 papers in English, they don't like it. Okay? But that's, I'm not a nice guy. So first we make groups, then the groups share roles, and then individually each of the group members read papers, and then they receive a certain number of concepts to define. Is what the concept in my course, but whatever, it could be democracy or neuron or whatever. And they have to define this concept. This is not very collaborative because each of them has concept that he found in the paper he was reading, so they don't do it collaboratively. Say, okay, you define this one, you define this one, and then so they go online and each of them distributes each of them define one concept. It's not collaborative. Now it's a stage where it becomes collaborative. They have to build a concept grid. It's like a concept map. It is a grid. Here are the 9 concepts they have to define. And they have to put 2 concepts next to each other. Only if they can explain. Here, if you click here, you have what is the relationship between social presence and deictics. And he says these 2 concepts are similar because, wow, this is a very good. John has been reading a paper about social presence. And Suzanne has been reading a paper about deictics. And now they have to type a small explanation of what is the relationship between social presence and deictics. How can they do it? Well, the only way is that John explained to Suzanne what is social presence, what he understood, and Suzanne explained to John what is deictics, what she understood, and then they can write a short text explaining the difference. So here we don't trigger conflict. This script triggers explanation. None of them has enough knowledge to build a grid. The only way to build a grid is that they explain to each other all the concepts they've been reading about. So again, instead of saying free collaboration, we kind of design the collaborative activity in such a way that something will happen. In this case, it is explanation. And I ask them, and then again there is a debriefing where the teacher takes all the concepts and you know, there are students, so they cheat a little bit, and I say, well, who gave this definition? And someone says, that's me, sir, and can you explain the definition? And then if you did cut and paste, for instance, you cannot explain the I still have to put some pressure. But there, I have all the definition, and I have to turn that into a lecture. But it's their own work. So what I do is I take the definition, I put them in my PowerPoint, and every time a student sees his own name or his own work in the PowerPoint of the professor, you have a lot of attention from the class. So I've been using it a lot with my students. The motivation for them, I did not grade the concept grade, but when they were finished, I print them and I gave them for the exam. That's the material they can use at the exam, so they were motivated to do good concept grades. And this is kind of grades that the different teams have been building. And I asked them whether they read the definition of the other, most of them did. Whether they explained the concept to each other, yes, most of them did. Whether you changed the definition after, and most of them did not. The goal was this. People have to explain the concept to each other. So, the first idea was you have to design collaboration. The second idea is what do you do when you design collaboration? Is you play with the difference between the students. You have either students with different opinions and you identify them. Like maybe you give a course of sociology to students from sociology, but in the class there are half of the class is students from psychology. Okay? And they have a different viewpoint. That's good for you, because you can use this. Or maybe half of your students come from the south, half of your students come from the north. That's good for you, because you can play with this difference between your students. Okay? Another point, if they don't have different opinions, you can trigger different opinions. Like you ask them to argue about the domain, but you give them different papers to read, so they have different opinions. Or you give them different data about, what was the economy in Chile, or what the effect of some people on the economy of Chile between the 70s and the 90s, and you give them different data. I'm sure there is an economical report. And then you say, okay, you read this data carefully, and then you argue. So in our case, what we do, if you have two people, there is a natural difference between them. What we do is we increase this natural difference by finding people with a different opinion or giving them a different opinion. So with two people that there, we increase the difference between them in such a way that to be able to agree at the end, it's more difficult for them. They will have to argue more, they will have to explain more. It's a nasty approach, if you want. We make collaboration a bit more difficult. Yes, if you agree from the beginning collaboration is easy, you will solve the things, but you will not learn more, because you will not explain, you will not justify. So we make collaboration a bit more difficult. We increase, up to some level of course, we increase what I mentioned at the beginning, the effort that people have to engage to build a shared understanding. We increase the difference so that to build a shared understanding, they have to argue more, to explain more. The third idea that you see illustrated in my scripts is that it's not collaborative, it's not individual, it's everything. And that was the point I mentioned at the very beginning. It's this now idea of integration. It's not purely collaborative. We should not make collaborative learning a religion. In education, we should have no dogma and no religion. Collaborative learning is a good thing. Individual learning is sometimes important, like reading, summarizing other individual activities, and the class activities where all the kids are there and the teacher is there very present is very important. So we don't have to choose between the two or three. This kind of script, we integrate class activities, group activities, individual activities. That's the third idea I wanted to present. Don't choose. Take everything. Beer and wine and champagne. Just don't choose between always wine or always champagne. A third point I want to mention is that in this collaborative learning activity, students learn something, but they don't really learn. they get some experience. And at some point, there is a need for the professor to turn this experience into learning. They just do things. When they try, when they play with simulation, they have some feeling and so on. But at some point, there is the role for the teacher to turn this into knowledge. And this is what we call debriefing. At some point, the professor has to be there and say, okay, no, let me summarize what you have learned. There are 3 concepts, there are 2 theories, there are 5 principles, and to put some order. Okay? I'm not saying that we should lecture more. I'm not saying, when I insist on teachers, I'm not saying more lecturing. Lecturing is not effective in general. Lecturing can be very effective here, where the students have tried, they've failed, they've disagreed, they've discussed that, and at some point, you say, okay, now let me tell you that 3 definitions of this concept. And they say, or this you say, well, let me tell you, there is a law called which has modeled this principle, and they say, it makes sense. What the content of the lecture makes sense because they've tried. They've tried, it was difficult. And there is a really paper called The Time for Telling. A lecture, usually lectures are not very effective, like the retention rate is between 5–10%, but if the students try by themselves during collaborative activities or individual activities, and then at some point you lecture, then it can be very effective. On all support collaboration, I will like to, currently we talk only about software, and the way we support collaboration in my team is also by doing objects. As I mentioned, tables and lamps. And to explain you that, I will talk about a new project in vocational education, Berufsbildung, in Switzerland, in Germany, and Austria. That's the key of education for teenagers. In Switzerland, 2/3 of the teenagers stop school at 16. Okay? University is for losers. Okay? Real men go at 16, they learn a job. And they don't leave schools. They have 1 day per week at school and 4 days per week in a company. And that's the basics of the Swiss economy. Every professional worker, a carpenter, a bread maker, has received 4 years of training, including still 1 day per week of economics, English, German, and the professional basis of his work. And so we worked in this domain, and we went to interview kids in one field which is called logistics. There are people working in a warehouse, and they are supposed to learn logistics, the flow of goods, the flow of data. And we went to really 10 companies and to interview the kids working in these companies. And what I told you before, that vocational education is the basics of Swiss economy, is wrong. When we went to interview this company, the kids learned nothing. Now they are slaves, they move boxes. The boss tells you, move this box there, move this box there, move these boxes. Or even worse, the computer tells them, move this box there, move this box there. So that's the purpose. They don't connect what they learn at school with what they do in the activity. So what we designed to do is to bring the warehouse in the school. So here, the kids use shelves, and they design a warehouse. So there are 2, you will see in the next movie, you will see 2 technologies. One is, this is what we call an augmented reality system. You have a table with shelves. On each shelf, as you can see here, there is a tag, and this tag is recognized by the camera up there. When you say, I want to simulate my warehouse, some information will be added on this object by the beamer. Beamer is there, beams up there, on the mirror, and here. Here you have the same thing, smaller one, in the smaller size, with a small shelf, with the same tags. Here we have the beamer and the camera. So the students will build with their hands a warehouse, and the beamer will add information on the table and on the shelf.
On a essayé de trouver une solution.
The same application, but it's just smaller because it was too big to scale it in the classroom. So you have the same warehouse with the simulations where the we have a collaboration technology, but you did not see a computer. That's one of another trend I want to push. When we have laptops, if you put 4 kids around the table with a laptop, well, just think about it. When you have a meeting and some of your colleagues open the laptop, you never know what they're doing. You know? When you teach and the students open the laptop, if they smile, you know they're not listening to you. Okay? You know that doing Skype or doing email. Okay? That's especially if 2 guys smile at the same time in the class, they are Skyping to each other. These laptops are very fantastic. I mean, my laptop is my life. I'm not criticizing laptop, but when we have to work together, it attracts too much of attention. It's not collaboration. Collaboration is looking in the eyes of the people around you. It's not being like that in the laptop. So the idea here is that maybe if we want to support face-to-face collaboration, we look at the same thing and then we don't look at the laptop. But of course, there is the approach here done in the laboratory of the Visitó where all people look at the same display and have different modes. Then we all look at the same thing. Here we are, all people sitting around the table and interacting with concrete objects. So, does it work? Yes. We compare 10 teams or 20 teams, I don't remember, learning with plastic shells. You see, we don't move icons, we move plastic shells. And these guys are real men. They're not academics like us. They are men who move boxes. They like the very concrete object. Everybody likes it. We compare teams using that with teams using a multi-touch. You know the Microsoft multi-touch table is like your iPhone, but it's big like that. Okay? I'm very fed up about the iPhone and the iPad. You know, every day the journalists call me, and Mr. Dillenbourg built the iPad, blah 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 blah. And here, what we show is simple plastic shelf that costs 10 cents, whereas significantly tangible environment was significantly better in learning than the multi-touch. Why? Because it's so easy to put 2 shelves together. Even if I close my eyes, I feel that it's so easy to display something like that. Comparison to doing with your finger, that they way faster. And because they way faster, they explore more different solutions. And the more various solutions you explore, the better you understand the problem. So that was it. So that's something new. That's a computer. Of course there is a computer somewhere in the background. But no, and for the kids, there is a table, plastic shelf, and this is a simulation, and there is a lamp. And of course there is a computer. We don't want to pretend that there is no computer. But it's a different approach to face-to-face collaboration. And I don't know if you noticed, in one of the teams, we use paper to control the simulation. You will see in the next movie. This is a paper sheet. 2 tiles are there. They are recognized by the camera. So the camera knows the structure of the sheet of paper, and it knows that what do these black dots mean. So you know that there is multiple choice, and that they've chosen this kind of this option here. So to control the simulation, to say run faster, run slower, and so on, we use sheets of paper. I don't know if you've seen in the previous movie, there was a sheet of paper when we display information as well. The key information is what is the average time to move a box from a shelf to the truck. That tells you if your warehouse is well designed or not. And the use of paper completely changed the project. I will tell you later on, but let's see. So we run the simulation again. And you see here the average time that is necessary in this warehouse to bring the box. That's the most important thing, that you can measure the quality of the warehouse that it has been designed. This is the stock management activity. So we see the paper and we read information on the paper. We make the paper interactive. The students, they take a pen and they just write on the information given by the dealer. So like the shape of the warehouse, the values, the number of boxes they've been getting in and out URLs. So they write down, and then they give this information for them when they go to the blackboard. Okay. Then there are two ideas in this environment. One is tangible. We don't move icons, we move plastic shells. The second is paper. Paper as an input device and as an output device. And this paper was, for the teacher, was really a big difference. Because they could prepare the sheet of paper before at home, think about it. The curriculum is in a binder. They can open the binder with the exercise for tomorrow. Take the exercise, annotate, bring it to the classroom, they put in the paper sheet below the lamp. The lamp recognizes the exercise, set up the exercise, and run the exercise. Of course, you could do it online. You could have a website where you go and upload the parameters. You're not so sure. There, you break the sheet of paper, you use it to control the simulation. When the simulation is finished, you take some notes for next year, or you take some notes and you make a copy for your colleague. The use of paper make it very compatible with the life of teacher. I'm a teacher, many of you are teachers. It's a repetitive job. We want to keep something for next year because we'll teach again next year. And the use of paper was very ecologically integrated in this. You will be convinced immediately. I've done 200 demos, people are convinced. But it's not an effective learning technology. This learning technology is not, this very nice, very sexy piece of technology is not effective. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not effective. Dames und Herren, no technology is effective. This tool, if the teacher leaves the room, the kids start to talk about soccer, or they smoke. Nothing happens. This thing is not effective. You leave it 2 days with the kids, they will learn nothing. That's something we have to, even this nicest advanced technology is not effective. What happens is that at some point the teacher stops. There are 4 lamps. He said to the kids, okay, what is your average time to bring a box to the truck? 97 seconds. And you? 62. Oh, 62. And Mr. we got 57 seconds. Oh, 50 seconds. Okay, why? Because we are the best. Okay, why? Okay, the 4 teams, you come to the blackboard and you draw URLs. And you write the performance of URLs. And now you explain me, why is URLs better than URLs? Oh yes, because we did narrow alley between the shelf and the forklift. There was a jam of the forklift, so maybe we should have wider alleys. And so without this job of the teacher at some point that says, why? Explain to me, justify, what did you learn? What is the principle? They will not learn anything. That's something that we always make the mistake. People said, are computers effective for learning? No. Are multimedia, is hypertext good for learning? No. Is simulation good for learning? Is a simulation? No. There will be no effect. The technology per se has no effect. I can give it works very well. I can give it with another teacher that doesn't like it and cannot really do this comparison on the blackboard. They will not learn. That's something we've, I think there are people from the ministry in the room, and I think that's very important to understand that. No, technology has an intrinsic effect. Per se, even the iPad, because everybody is mad about the iPad, will have no intrinsic effect. It all depends, or the teacher managed to do something with it. And so the value of this technology, which is very nice, is that it helps the teacher to invent very concrete activities, very useful activities. So if the technology helps the teacher to invent good learning activities, the kids learn. But without a teacher, these kids will not learn. I think I repeated enough. So here, this is how we use paper for them, for the curriculum.